This is the Dr. Duke Show.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Dr. Duke Show. I am Dr. Duke, and I'm joined today by Vicki McKenna. Vicki, how are you?
I'm well. Are we gonna dive into the deep dark hole again?
Yeah, well, we're gonna bang on education as we always do, and the gaslighting of the progressive left, it never ends. I mean, to suggest that Republicans, Donald Trump, is responsible for what's going wrong in the public schools is unbelievable, but that's what happens. You may remember, Vicki, and I think the audience will too, Loudoun County, Virginia, one of the epicenters of overreach progressive education. This is the place that went woke very quick. It's the place that was doing segregated bathrooms, letting so-called trans men into girls' bathrooms. This is also the place, Loudoun County, where a trans boy, a boy who identified as a woman, and the only way you could even tell that is because he wore a skirt. In every other way, he was a typical masculine boy. He was allowed into the girls' bathrooms, and he raped and sodomized a younger female. And when that happened, they didn't report it. The school board, the principal knew about this, didn't report it, and they actually transferred that kid to another school in Virginia, who was then allowed into the women's bathrooms to rape another young girl. And so all this now is documentably true. Now they're blaming Donald Trump's policies, which, quote, forced them, unquote, to cover up the rape. And here's the real kick in the pants, Vicki. The school board is trying to blame Trump, his Title IX rewrite, for the rape cover-up. But even the school's own lawyers said, quote, Trump made the policies more stringent, and there can be no doubt that the school board violated these rules. I mean, the level of chutzpah here is staggering.
Yeah, they're making us hide it because if we don't hide it, we'll get in trouble because of Title IX. They're making us hide it. Otherwise, we'll get in trouble. So they covered up two rapes, and protected the rapist. And if you recall, in one of those cases, went after the father of the victim, never told the parents what happened. And it's all Donald Trump's fault. I mean, that's how if you need another reason to believe us that the public schools are unfixable, here's another one for you. If you need another reason to take your kids out of these environments, the progressive left, the teachers union, has complete control over the environment of education, the content of education, the safety of your children, and they do not believe that girls should be protected from sexual assault. They do not believe that if the person doing the assault is a boy who wears a skirt. That is the only category, presumably, where Me Too doesn't apply, is when the boy decides he's a woman and walks into a girl's bathroom to rape a girl. It really isn't rape because we have to be inclusive and we have to be understanding. And the reason why that boy would have raped that girl is all because of Donald Trump's policy or conservative evangelicals who are teaching children, I don't know, that boys are boys and girls are girls and you shouldn't rape people. It's all somebody else's fault. And that's the way the teachers union justifies continuing to pursue these dangerous policies for kids.
Well, here's a quote from the actual superintendent who oversaw this crazy former superintendent. And here's the thing. He was just found guilty of cover-up. I mean, so this is the guy who is the former superintendent, one of the main players in the cover-up, who was actually found held responsible in a court of law for what he had done. He said, quote, throughout these recent events, the Loudoun County Public Schools complied with our obligations under Title IX. However, we have found the process outlined under Title IX by the U.S. Department of Education to be insufficient in addressing issues at the K-12 level. We believe the process could be strengthened with some reform. So in other words, Donald Trump made
It's not my fault.
No, it's no.
I'm guilty, but it's not my fault.
Yeah.
I was just, a pencil pusher. I was trying to comply. There is no way to read Title IX the way it exists right now. I know the Biden administration is attempting to rewrite it by fiat, but as it exists right now, there is no way to read Title IX in such a manner that you would not protect girls from boys in bathrooms. Period. There's no way to contort yourself unless you just make up word definitions to read it that way. And there's no way to read Title IX that would suggest any administrator would not have immediately contacted, number one, the police, and number two, the parents, after a girl was raped by a student who was empowered by the school administration. There is absolutely no way to read Title IX and make yourself think that somehow it's just the policy that was so wrong. We did everything right. Comply means talk to the parents, to the police, and ensure the safety of girls.
Well, a secret internal report actually commissioned by the perpetrators in many respects has leaked out, and it's by the Loudoun County, Virginia public school system itself. It found that school administrators failed to even look into the 2020 rape. Not even to look at it, not even to investigate it, by a skirt-wearing boy in brazen violation of the federal Title IX governance overseeing sexual harassment.
Exactly.
And furthermore, the report, which was written by Loudoun County Public School, again, their own law firm that they hired, Blankenship and Keith, emerged last week after a judge blocked the school system's efforts to continue hiding it. It found that the Title IX rules were clear, especially after changes made by Donald Trump's administration, and the need to investigate thoroughly all allegations, let alone actual rapes, and the clown show, trans who simper at the feet of the LGBTQ, decided they would do none of those things. Now they're trying to blame everybody else.
And now it's Donald Trump or Betsy DeVos or God or someone, but it's certainly never their fault. So what does this say? This superintendent who is no longer at Loudoun County is going to be picked up by another school district where he will do the exact same thing. Same thing is true of the teachers who hid this. Same thing is true of the teachers and the administrators who permitted that girl to be put at grave risk and ultimately assaulted. They will all go on and do exactly what they've been doing now, only try to find ways to hide it better. That's the only lesson that is ever learned. Even you could put that superintendent in jail, and if he got out of jail and got another superintendent job, he would do the exact same thing. This is a cult. This is a religion to these people. They believe it as fervently as you and I believe in Jesus Christ. That is a fact. This is such a deep belief system that it has cult-like qualities. They will never stop. The only way to deal with this is eradicate the teachers union, fire the teachers, fire the administrators, stop funding the K-12 public school system, and give every parent an opportunity to either homeschool their kid or find a private education institution for their children. This won't stop. Understand that it will only go deeper underground to make it harder for you to ferret out.
Well, and let's not forget before we go to break, let's not forget that the very first American president to hijack Title IX and to gerrymander it without any congressional authority or will of the people was Obama. So what Betsy DeVos was doing was trying to put back into Title IX protections for falsely accused falsely accused men and for girls, because Obama wanted to basically any boy who was accused was immediately guilty. So she was trying
boys in skirts.
Except in boys in skirts. And so as DeVos tried to fix it, then Loudoun County now is blaming that's why we couldn't report it, because that evil Betsy DeVos wanted to protect boys who were being targeted by LGBTQ nut jobs like the one who committed these rapes. We'll come back after
that is absolute garbage. If you go read Title IX, and it is pretty clear. It's really easy to understand.
Well, after the break, we're going to come back and look at a couple new other stories that tie into why education in this country is pretty much hopelessly doomed. We'll be right back. We're now back with Vicki McKenna, and we're talking about how the education system is being attacked from all fronts. Here's a classic example here. Now, of course, we knew this was coming. Now that the federal government has really serious control over what goes on in the public schools with their enablers, the American Public School Teacher Unions, you now have a situation where redoubtable organizations like MSNBC, redoubtably stupid, are actually writing that homeschooling is a project of evangelical Christians. It is a war against public schools, and one that has insidious racist roots. So, seeing every story you and I have covered, which goes back years and runs the gamut of how completely corrupt the public school system is from the top to the bottom, now they're telling you that the alternative to that, homeschooling, is racist, a dog whistle. Yes. It is also a evangelical Christian war just to get rid of the innocent, hardworking, lovable public school system.
Well, and so if your public school system is so dysfunctional and chaotic and dangerous, so mind you, it isn't just that students can't even read or do math, at grade level proficiency. In Wisconsin, that is sub 40% grade level proficiency. It's not just that. It's also that there isn't discipline, that certain categories of students are not going to be disciplined because they're considered protected groups. Black students, Hispanic students, trans students. So you're seeing chaos, and oftentimes violence break out in the schools. So if you reject that and you say, I'm taking my child out of that dangerous environment and I'm going to homeschool my kid, that is proof that you're a racist. It's proof that you are supposed to make sure your child is exposed to the chaos, the nihilism, and the hellscape that is many K-12 public schools in order for you to prove that you are not a racist. Take your kid out and you're a racist. And of course, if you're doing it because you object to the utter lack of morality, the subjective sliding scale of ethics that has replaced objective truth in the public schools, well, that makes you an evangelical freak. Doesn't matter if you're Catholic or Lutheran, you're an evangelical freak. You might as well juggle snakes. That's basically what they're trying to tell you. They're trying to make it seem uncool, unchic, and like you might not be invited to the neighborhood potluck if you would homeschool your kid. This is all trying to shame parents out of doing it. Do they really believe it's racist? At some point, I think some progressives have convinced themselves that protecting your own children and making sure they get an education and making sure they're safe is racist because other students' parents can't do that for them. So if poor black parents can't homeschool and you can, you shouldn't, because if you do, you're exerting your white privilege or some garbage like that. But they're also claiming that school choice using school vouchers, which is largely targeted to minority students and poor students, that's race rage. That's race rage to take your black student out of a failing public school and put him in a private school. So anything that interrupts the hegemony of the K-12 teachers union controlled public school system that is destroying this country is clearly racist.
Well, just 2 weeks ago, Secretary of Education Cardona said, I have no use for misbehaving parents who think they know what their school kids need. That's what you got coming from the Biden administration. And so are we surprised that every two-bit socialist commie wannabe down the food chain is marching lockstep to that? And not only are they attacking Christianity, this is not evangelical Christianity. This is what they call Christian nationalism. Any form of Christianity that doesn't believe that critical race theory and LGBTQ pornography should be in the schools is now Christian nationalism. And
which is a pejorative.
Absolutely.
Right, which is a pejorative.
Absolutely.
So they want to lump in everyone who thinks that the bastardization of the Christian faith is something that is appalling and should be rejected. They want every one of those people in the Christian nationalist camp with people who want, to impose theocracy on the United States. So everyone's in that camp now. And by the way, they're actually holding press conferences to that end to try to color all Christians with the exact crayon called Christian nationalism. You're right. So if you're Catholic or if you're just kind of a modest, I don't know, Episcopalian, and you object to this because it's dangerous for your child and your child isn't learning anything in the process, well, congratulations. You are now the Christian version of MAGA Republican.
Well, and you mentioned the Episcopalians, the Anglicans. They're as far left as they would have no problem with labeling other forms of Christianity, at least what we've seen from the Archbishop of Canterbury, have no problem labeling other Christian denominations as right-wing. This is, by the way, this article in MSNBC is from Anthea Butler, who is, she is Joy Reid without the whimsy. She is a academic moron and one of these LGBTQ advocates. Think about who Gavin Newsom just appointed to be the senator to replace Feinstein, and you've got who Anthea Butler is. I mean, this is the same bit of business. And your point,
dumb, but she checked a box, right?
Yep. And
dumber than a box of rocks, but she checked enough boxes.
Four boxes.
So I mean, I'm trans,
gay,
queer,
black, gay, pro-abortion, and socialist. Yep.
Perfect.
There you go.
All right. Perfect. But yeah, I mean, this is just, you're supposed to sacrifice your kids in order to protect your own reputation. That's what they're telling you. Sacrifice your kids. Don't let them, let them come out of 12th grade, not reading at 8th grade level, not ever having been exposed to a serious or challenging book in their entire life, not being able to do basic mathematic algorithms, not being able to figure out, how to run a washing machine, not figuring out how to appropriately fill out a job application or show up on time, because by the way, on time is racist as well. You have to accept that. Plus, you have to put them at risk of violence and rape, or you're just not a good person. And that works on a lot of people. It blows my mind. They're your kids. This shouldn't be working on you. It should be the one time you're willing to have a little bit of courage. But in many, many cases, Duke, it actually takes until a child is assaulted or, in the case of Loudoun County, raped. Something else, though, if you'll recall this, and I'm not sure people will recall this is 2017, and it was an article that was published in the UK Daily Mail. It was an academic with philosophy, a chair of philosophy, and I cannot remember his name. I'll try to find that for you, who claimed parents reading to their children was racist. You should not read books to your children because poor Black people can't read books to their children because they went through an education system that didn't teach them to read effectively. And so they don't choose to do that for their children. Therefore, you putting your kids at an advantage by exposing them to more words when they're little is racist. Stop doing that.
Well, we have evidence here, Vicki, that this is exactly what's happening with regards to Christianity. And this next story is pretty shocking. You think about the Biden administration, who is allowing dangerous terrorists into the country. We know it. We know people who have raped and drunk drive and killed people who cross back over the border and they're not getting deported. We have people with childhood diseases like measles and mumps and even serious issues like tuberculosis and in some cases leprosy crossing the border and no one gets sent back home. But you have one German Christian couple who came to this country 15 years ago because in Germany, you cannot, by federal law, you cannot homeschool your kids. You must send your kids to these concentration gulags called the government schools. And so they've been here trying to educate their children. And they've managed to survive. They managed to do this well. They have not gotten in any trouble. They still are not American citizens. I wonder why that is, because, hey, they tried to do it the right way. Meanwhile, now the Biden administration, to the surprise of nobody, is wanting to send them back because, the real danger to this country is not terrorism, is not a horde of illegal immigrants sucking up resources. No, it's a German family who wants to, in a Christian way, educate their children.
Wow. I mean, and you're right, it doesn't surprise me, but it's appalling. So everyone who wants to destroy this country is allowed in. Come on in, destroy the country. But if you're just here, just trying to, fight oppression. I mean, in a very real way, saying you cannot educate your children in a Christian fashion in Europe is oppression. Nah, I'm sorry. You're not allowed. You're going to have to go. We really care about enforcing immigration laws. And then if a conservative would complain about that, well, I thought you were about enforcing immigration laws. Meanwhile, there were over 200,000 people in the month of August that poured across the border. You've got the entire luxury hotel, district in New York City is being paid by the federal government to essentially turn those hotels into flop houses for migrants, economic migrants from third world countries who can't read or do math or speak our language. So, yeah, I mean, it's meant to be noticed. You're meant to understand and process the hypocrisy. You're meant to be outraged about it. And you're meant to feel hopeless and helpless to do anything to make anything make sense. It's not supposed to make sense because the chaos and the confusion drive you crazy. And that's the point. Because once you're that frustrated, you feel like you can't fight back.
The family in question is Uwe and Annalore Romicki. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly in the Germanic way, but they are facing a dangerous predicament as their family faces deportation 15 full years after they got here. I mean, that is remarkable. 15 years. Aren't we supposed to, let the parents stay, especially if the children were here at young ages? Haven't we been lectured on that? In fact, most Republicans actually have been convinced that is perfectly okay, but not apparently in the case of German Christians. I wonder if they were from Morocco. I wonder if they were from Ghana. I wonder if they were from Haiti or Venezuela making the same claim, if there would be an aggressive attack by the Biden administration to run them out of the country. I bet not. Or if they were German Muslims, they would not have any problems.
Or German Muslims.
We actually have the Romicki family, if that's how it's pronounced, speaking. Take a look.
In 2008, a family fled from Germany to Tennessee after they were fined for homeschooling their kids in Germany. 5 years later, their asylum claim was denied, claiming they weren't persecuted. But they were told their stay was indefinite. Now, after 15 years of making the United States their beloved home, they are facing deportation.
The Romicki family has entered the country lawfully. They've been here lawfully for 15 years.
Yes.
They want to stay here lawfully, and there's a way to make that happen. So this is not a case other than a family following the rule of law, which is what we have in the United States, as you well know, and wanting to continue to follow the rule of law to stay here. And so the Biden administration can make that happen. The agencies can make it happen, and we're asking them to simply do just that.
If you were returned to Germany and you wanted to continue to homeschool, what would happen?
And the laws there hadn't changed, and so we would face the same persecution as we did back then.
So homeschooling is totally illegal in Germany? You can't do it?
Yes, it is illegal.
And by the way, this is one of the only law from the Nazi era that they did not purge in Germany. This is the only one serious law that they kept from the Hitler era, that you can't educate your kids outside of government.
Think about that. The left is getting awfully cozy with actual Nazis and Nazi ideas lately. I'm guessing, I don't know their specific situation. I'm guessing that they just want an extension on their visa, and they're being denied that. But again, they did not cross into the country illegally. Maybe that's what they should do. They should, head to Mexico and walk across the Rio Grande and claim that they are seeking asylum, be processed quickly, and have just let out their house for a couple of months to make sure that the mortgage is getting paid, and then just go back to their old lives. Maybe that's something they should do, because it seems when you do it the right way, you're punished. Again, you're supposed to process that. You're supposed to notice that. I do it the right way and I get punished. And in order to get what I want, I must break the law. And to law-abiding people, that's untenable. So they want you to be in this position where you're just galled by the whole thing, but feel powerless to do anything about it. But if I'm that family, I'm seriously considering just simply going to Mexico for a vacation and then just making my way to the giant crowd of migrants pushing forward and wading across a very shallow river and then just have a friend pick you up.
Your analogy was wonderful, but it didn't quite go far enough. You got to go to Germany as a German couple, and then you have to traffic a few Hispanic kids, and maybe then get caught, with a coyoteing a little truck full of people. And then when you get here, maybe run over a few border guards when you're drunk. And that's the best way in the Biden administration to go to the highest priority to keeping you in this country. And that sarcasm. That sarcasm, my friends, is going to wrap up the show. If you enjoyed the program, please subscribe to our brand new podcast channel. Simply search for it. It's the Dr. Duke Show, Dr. Duke Show, on your favorite free platforms. And don't forget to follow us on Rumble as well. Visit rumble.com/Freedom Project and follow us. For all of us at the show and for Vicky, we will see you very soon.